Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started. All right, welcome back. I finally got you back, and perfect time for the new year.
Happy 2023.
2023, we're here.
Easy Pete.
You know, every year I keep saying this since 2020. This year's going to be better, and now I've learned I just better not say that. So, just if I'll say it's going to be terrible.
It's all relative. Better than what?
What?
1929. It's going to be better than 29.
That's true. Maybe that's our new definition of better, huh?
It's all relative. It is going to be better. And
Right.
23, I think 2023 is going to be a good year.
It's got to be. It's going to be. We're ready for that. So, no, I'm
Of course,
glad.
when you get my age,
that's
any
true.
year is just great. Tomorrow's, one day's great. Much
like,
less a year.
This could be the last year. Every year's a great year, right?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I was feeling pretty good.
Until that comment.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was glad to have you on my first episode of the new year.
Thank you, babe.
Figured I could ring it in with you, and we'll hope for really good, positive vibes for 2023.
Right.
So, but I did want to pick your brain on just kind of your new year. How do you set up a new year? How do you get going? What do you do personally, professionally? I think there's a lot of hype around New Year's resolutions, and we make a lot of jokes about those resolutions in February and March when we've all fallen off the bandwagon.
Haven't been to the gym yet.
Yeah, exactly.
After that first week.
So what do you do to kind of, start fresh every year?
Well, I think, I was thinking about that when you'd mentioned earlier today that we wanted to get together today. And I was thinking, as you guys were kids, December was always exciting for me. Having 4 kids, you guys were 3 years apart. You were the third child, the first daughter. And December was so exciting for me. Just the joy of Christmas. Mm-hmm. I love the lights, love the music, just the anticipation and the hope that's in the air. And then when you guys were growing up, the day after Christmas, there was no XM stations back then. So the music, Christmas music was done. Christmas Day was the last day. Almost everyone turned off their lights. So I found myself being kind of melancholy, really kind of sad that all of this energy was now gone. So I can sometimes feel that way looking back over the last dental year. This year was my most productive year in dentistry.
Which, congratulations,
well, thank
right?
you so much.
At 71, you're like, 71. That feels pretty good.
Yeah. So I can look back with some of that same melancholy that, wow, this was a great year. Will I ever have another year like that? And be a little sad and blue like I was with you kids. But then that doesn't last when your kids were little, it didn't last very long. And, the year turns around. Your sister has a birthday December 31st. You have one on January the 4th. So there's some things to look forward to. So as far as dentistry and looking toward the new year, the challenge is, for me, not being satisfied, even though last year was great. That was last year.
What's going to be new this year?
It's history, So then you have the pressure of, okay, now 2023 needs to be better financially than 2022. So again, there's a little frustration there of like, oh man, here we go again. Every day trying to meet or beat our expectations. So the big thing for me is being okay with that challenge of here we go again. Mm-hmm. It's really never over. Here it is again. We always try to grow, so we don't have the same office growth, but we increase. Really, for us, 1% to 3% at our level at 3%. That's a pretty good growth for us. So for me, being ready to do that, but then also the team, because they have worked really, really hard, and then here we go again. So I think it's kind of like a football team at the end of a year. Well, you'll either look back and say, man, that we have a lot of regrets because we lost a lot of games, or we look back with gratitude that, man, we had a heck of a year, but now I've got to mentally get ready to do it again. So the big thing is encouraging the team, because probably some of them maybe have the same melancholy feelings that I do, that the year's over, it was a great year, but now it's history, and we got to do this dang thing again, So it's just a mental thing for me. I don't think we would change a lot, because I think we have pretty good systems. We will lose one of our staff members that's been with me for a long time. She's leaving to start her own business, so you got to be happy about that. But, it's part of the family, is dynamics have changed. So we have a new young girl, and you just don't know, is she going to fit in the family or not?
And there's just the worry of what if?
Or not. And she, you just don't get, in our neck of the woods, you don't get many dental assistants that have any skill set. So they just come with a desire, and that's it. So they just really have to be trained on the spot. So it's just mostly managing the expectations, celebrating the past, but you can't stay there very long.
Like, we can't keep thinking about 2022.
Yeah.
Got to move on.
Hey, we did great last year. Yeah, I know, but we got to meet today's financial obligations. So anyway, nothing really clinically will we change. Nothing other than hiring a new dental assistant. So there's nothing in our systems. I think we really have good systems. So then it's just emotional, just being motivated to do it again.
Yeah. And to go a little bit higher.
Yeah, and to go a little bit higher.
Even if it's that, 1 to 3%, which sounds so
little
achievable, but when you're looking at a really great productive practice, that's daunting, that 1 to 3%. So I think that's important that you said, not only do you have to get in the mental mindset for it, but also keeping in mind that your team's probably, at least a couple of people on the team, are probably feeling the same way.
Sure.
That dread of, oh my gosh, can we achieve that again?
Yeah.
And can we even go higher than that? I think that's important to realize, because I think sometimes practice owners think it's just me. Right. I'm the only one going through that. But I think the team bears a lot of those same emotions. If we are really thinking about them, they probably are feeling the same way.
Yeah. I won a trip this year, and I was standing up front with the 4 front desk people that we have, and they asked, are you going to go on this trip? And I said, yeah, but I'd really rather work, which is true. I'd really rather work. And one of the newest people up front said, well, you couldn't have done it without us. I said, you were exactly right. I couldn't have. And they know that.
Yeah.
They know that I know. Mm-hmm. It is not a one-man. It is not. And we've mentioned that in the past, that I recognize that I need every one of them, which is comforting and scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's comforting to have them.
And terrifying.
But terrifying, because if you lost some of those key people, whew.
Yeah. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah. You could not be going to the playoffs. You could just be going home during football season.
Well, and that, I think that goes with some of those New Year's reflections as well, because like you said, you're looking back on this successful year and who all had a major role in that.
Right.
And I think, Dr. Koopa talks about this a lot, that she's constantly got that gnawing fear of who's going
Who's
next.
leaving, yeah.
Who's gone next. And that's scary when you're aiming just a little bit higher for
Right.
next year to think, I really am depending upon these people
Right.
that have helped me get here. So that could be some of that dread for sure. When you think about the staff that you have, so you mentioned one of your assistants moving on to start her own business. There's no doubt that I think most of the people on the team have their own goals, their own
sure.
dreams, their own desires. How do you balance that? Because it's almost like there's a part of you that's like, yes, like dream big and,
Right.
and go accomplish, but please let it be dreams
Right.
about the office. You know? How do you balance that encouragement of, yes, I want you to, you know, go after what you want, almost in a New Year's type way where we,
Right.
you know, we have that same hopes and dreams for them, but then also the desire to keep them, you know, where they're at. How do you kind of tug of war that out?
Well, I think, because I think about that also, because I think, what if I lost this person? What if I lost that person? And to be honest with you, I think I come to the realization that we're all replaceable. Mm-hmm. One day I'm going to be replaced, and the practice may do better than it's ever done before. So part of it is faith that if someone leaves because I'm a Christian, God's got somebody else planned for that.
Yeah.
And probably better. So I try not to fret about that, but it really would bother me if I lost a couple of those. I try to act so confident. You know, I know God's got this, but hey, God, please, not that person, not that person. But because I think there is just a lot of pressure to accomplish and to achieve. Some of it is personal. You know, I want to get better every year and do better every year. But just like those days that I think there's no way we can meet our financial goal for that day. The day starts, and I'm like, well, and then miraculously, I think it's a miracle. At the end of the day, we've passed it.
Yeah.
And I'll think, how did that happen? And I know it's a good team. I know I trust my team. And then I believe that we just have some supernatural help sometimes, that because no matter what your belief is about God, because I know you have a whole lot of different people listening, but at our office every morning we have prayer, and we just say, hey, give us wisdom today for these people that we're seeing, protect them, help them to remember their appointment, little things like that. And help them to be ready to move ahead. Mm-hmm. So I think there's some things that happen in our office that are because we're a good team, and then some things are just beyond what we can do.
Well, and I think that tone can really carry you throughout the day. You know, the tone that you set in that the way that you start the day, just like the way that we start the year. And
Right.
quite honestly, the start of everything is really what puts things in motion. And I think when you start the day with the belief that, you know, this day looks terrible, but we know it can turn around.
Yeah,
And
we've seen it too many times.
yeah, I think that tone can really be uplifting to the team. And then, wow, celebrating when that happens. And it's like, no, look, it can happen. This is proof, a testament, you know, to the fact that it can be turned around. And I think even taking that same principle and applying it to the beginning of a year,
Right.
even if we come into it with a little bit of dread and worry and can we achieve this year, or maybe we ended the year with some team losses that are pretty catastrophic, you know, how are we ever going to achieve? But you know, there's a principle that I studied in school called the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
Right? It's whatever you project out there, it's likely going to come true.
Right.
Because it's
Isn't
what's
that
in your
crazy?
mind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it sounds so simple, but just to have belief that,
Just
you know what?
expect. the best.
It's going to be okay, and it really is. And that doesn't mean that we are lazy about things. That certainly doesn't mean that we don't work towards it.
Oh, right.
It just means that there's a tone that we're setting, even setting for our team, that shows, you know what, I do believe that this is going to be a great year. I believe it's going to be a great day, and we're going to achieve. And I think that can be contagious. I think that's certainly an atmosphere that team members want to work in.
Sure. Yeah. And I think you're right that that goes back to that season before Christmas of belief and hope and expectations. And that's so exciting. And that's why December is such an exciting month. And so I think you're right. You bring that back into the new year every day with hope and expectation and anticipation. And then your team starts believing that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like you really could, if you work on that just a little bit, you really could continue to carry that tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody really wants to experience the, after December blues, but I think it's perfectly normal. But I think it wouldn't take much just to strike it back up again, where New Year's, does really become something that is exciting, that we do look forward to. What are we going to try to achieve this year, and try to switch it from that dread to more of that hope for the year. And I think because we're just coming off of it, I think it'd be pretty easy to kind of reignite that again.
Yeah,
so to speak.
I think so too. Yeah, I think there's a scripture, and then there is an author. I think his name is James Allen. As a man thinketh, so is he. Mm-hmm. So if we can help our team members by planting beliefs and anticipation and hope, then it is that self-fulfilling prophecy. Then we become what we become what we believe. So if we believe we can't do it, we are not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I think as your leader, it's so important to plant that belief that this is going to be the best year ever. Because I really do think 2023 is going to be a really, really good year.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you think that coming into every new year, or do you feel like it changes from year to year? I mean, is that just kind of a mindset that you've adopted, or? I
think, we've talked about your grandmother, and my mother was just a really hopeful person. So I think, I really can't take credit for a lot of my mindset. Now, I've read a lot of books through the years, so I'm sure that is stuff. But I think I just inherited part of your grandmother's hopeful spirit. So I really do. As I was thinking today and thinking about when you kids were growing up and the melancholy that I had after Christmas, I really don't have that as an adult now. I did when your kids were little. So I think I'm just fortunate to have been born with that kind of hopeful mindset. And again, it's nothing that I can take credit for. It's just your grandma inside of me.
It's her still living on.
Yeah, it's like I think she was really. And I think we've mentioned this. I thought she was ADD or something, but come to find out, she drank like 17 cups of coffee, so she was just caffeinated.
She was caffeinating us up at 7 years old. Best cup of coffee
have that
ever.
Coffee, yeah. Don't worry about it stunting your growth or killing brain cells.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, no, I do think it is. Some people are predisposed to more of that positive outlook and that hopeful mindset. And then I think the opposite end of the spectrum, there are so many people that are not predisposed to that. And so I think the details of all that needs to be accomplished in this year and the details of what all went wrong, they tend to be just more naturally critical in nature. And again, that makes them definitely skilled at certain things. But I think they certainly struggle with this time of year because reflection for them is, as they look back, it's all the things that went wrong. And then as they look forward, the dread of
we're going to do these same things wrong again.
It's going to be,
oh my gosh.
What new mistakes will there be? And I think I think people with, so those are the more detailed personality types, melancholy, phlegmatic. I think they really struggle this time of year. And I think the anxiety and worry really revs up. I've got so many clients that fall into that category. And so I know this can be a really hard time of year, but I think harnessing as much as they can that hopefulness. How can I take this negative thought, take control over that?
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm not going to attend to it. I'm not going to fight for that, perfection on that detail, but I'm going to have some hope that this is going to actually turn out better. And I think the more you choose that, that mindset, I think, and it's a battle. I mean, I have got so many clients that just struggle because they can fault find not only in themselves, but especially in their teammates. And I think it's very hard for them to release that and go, I see the mistake. I got to look away from it, and I got to just focus on different things. And so I would imagine for them, even just taking this tip of just what can you do to turn it into hopefulness, to turn it into belief that person is capable of doing better, into belief that you do have the ability to lead out positively in 2023. And I think so much of it is our mind.
Well, I think so much of it, you just need to become a grandparent. Because as a grandparent, we have 12 grandkids. Things that used to just drive us crazy when you were kids.
Yeah.
Now, as our grandkids do it, it's just hilarious.
Of course it is.
So the world's it's not nearly as important. So a lot of those, if you can just kind of develop that same attitude that it's really not that important. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
With your teammates, as they make mistakes or as you make mistakes, just forgive yourself and say, hey, I'm doing the best I can do.
Yeah. And that's really all we can do.
That's all we can do?
I think fighting to celebrate, I think when we're a natural critical person or a detail person, we're not opposed to it, but we don't even think about the celebration, So I think we have to not only, go, it's really not that big of a deal, because it's not, but then also, what can I find to celebrate? Because people are, and again, it doesn't mean that we don't ever correct our teammate. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Oh, yeah.
But it means we've got to look for what can I actually praise or celebrate with this person. And that can be hard, especially if all their mistakes are driving you crazy, trying to find something that goes, let's celebrate that.
Yeah, I think most people, a lot of people, don't feel worthy. They have a real problem with self-worth. And so they beat themselves up. If they make a mistake, I'm not worthy. Like one of our grandkids, when you guys were here at Thanksgiving, my grandkids love to play outside at night and play hide and go seek in the dark. And so I'm always the seeker. I don't know why this was a problem, but we have a smaller house behind our house. And I put the ladder up there so the kids could go up there and hide. Some of my children had a problem with that. I don't know why.
The parents of these children.
The parents of, these grandkids. And so 3 of them were up there, and one of the granddaughters, and so my youngest daughter really ripped everybody apart. And so the one granddaughter came down, and the next day we were going to a play with your daughter Cosette and Beckett, and your mom and I were taking the kids to a play, and Beckett said, I'm just not going. I don't deserve to go, because she got in trouble. I let her up on the roof, but she got in trouble. But you have people on your team like that just feel terrible about themselves. So if you can be a source of hope for them, a source of inspiration, and it might be writing notes, maybe verbal, maybe just patting them on the back, it could be even giving them books to read that have meant something to you. So besides doing great dentistry and providing a good work environment, it may be that you're supposed to be a spark of inspiration in some of these people's lives, and they may leave you. Like my dental assistant, she's been with me for a while, but she wanted to start her own business. So how can I not be happy for her?
Right.
Sad for our team, but happy for her. So if people can leave us better than they were when they came in, you know, I think we've done a lot besides doing great dentistry. Maybe we've changed someone's life.
Well, and I think we often think about that in relation to the patient. Like, what if
Right.
I've changed this person's smile and now they're forever changed. But something that I've really been a proponent of since I started consulting is, yes, I'm not saying that the dentistry is not totally worth it. But really, when you think about it, you spend all 4 or 5 days, however many days a week you're working with these people
Right.
that are right beside you. And if we are truly looking for life change, man, that's our opportunity,
Right.
is our team, you know. And the fact that we, years ago, Dr. Koopa was, and it may have been end of year, where she was kind of melancholy about the end of the year, and gosh, I don't know if I want to do this again, whatever year it was. And so we were talking about what motivates her, and I pointed out to her, I said, what motivates you is your team. You
Right.
love your team.
Yeah.
And at that time it was an all-female team, and had a bunch of single moms, on her team. And I said, you don't know it, but you love providing a better life for that single mom, and you are giving them
great.
this,
Yeah.
ability to achieve more than they ever accomplished. And she said light bulb went off for her, and she'd never realized that is what fires
drives
her up.
Yeah.
And she loves the patients, and she
Well,
loves
sure.
pediatric dentistry, but really what she loves is her team.
Yeah.
And I think that she had always loved them well, but I think that was a game changer for her. And she did a lot of things to, like you said, light the spark for them. She pays for a psychologist, and they get sessions,
That's
coaching
great.
sessions, and she herself coaches, whenever she can. And so I think if we would just change our mindset, especially for our super detailed people that tend to be kind of those critical people, to go, you know what? Yes, I get to change smiles for patients, and that's fantastic. But I get to change the livelihood of my team. And I think that's a really important shift for leaders to have.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it a lot.
Do you have any tips for our listeners as they step into this new year? We're January 2nd. So any advice that you'd give them?
Clinically, I would say look for something new this year, to learn something new that will be a good return on your investment, that is something that you are interested in, that you want to implement, and you see a need in your community or in your patient base, whatever that might be. Invisalign, or maybe start doing more oral surgery, or just whatever. Is there something new I can add? And then I think just what we've been talking about, what can I do this year to impact my team?
Yeah.
What can I do? And just kind of wake up every day like, today what can I do? Doesn't have to be huge.
No.
It's not always about money. But what can I do? And then for the leader, I think it'd be a good time to maybe find some good books. I think we've talked about books in the past, but find some good books to motivate yourself. Realize it's okay not to be perfect. Realize I'm okay being the best that I can be, and accepting that. What else, B?
I feel like those are really good ones. I think the mindset shift is a big one, you know, allowing yourself to the grace, you know, to be able to. I think every single client of mine can articulate their weaknesses.
Oh yeah.
And so, like you said, admitting that's okay, but I'm going to do my best with the skills that I have, and forgive yourself for the things that you're not great at. And then I think supplement, like you said, with books and podcasts.
Listen to your podcasts and others. Just like the other day, last week, I was doing endo, and just sometimes it's so aggravating. You'll have a file separate for you. There's just a fatigue factor in it from the factory or whatever. And you're like, dadgummit. So then you've got to have that conversation with the patient.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Fortunately, in this case, we were at that right length that may or may not give you problems. We're going to assume that it's not. But if it does give you problems, I have to have help. I cannot get this myself. So I've finally gotten easier with saying I need help.
Yeah.
Instead of wanting to be the guy that saved the day, to just say it's not me. You know.
Yeah.
The endodontist can do this so much better. We're going to watch it. We're going to monitor it.
Yeah.
But at 35, could I have done that?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to hide and not mention it to the patient.
Yeah.
And hope and pray that...
Well, and that's freedom, you know, to really be able to, you know, just share honestly with the patient. It seems overwhelming. Gosh, how am I going to do that? But then the freedom of it's out there, and we're going to do the best we can with what we've got now, you know. I think that is freeing. The fear of that is almost worse than
the reality.
The reality, you know. But I think too, you mentioned the support of, you know, I think we've talked about resources like books and you know, forgiving yourself and all of that, but also just I've had so many clients honestly over these last 2 years finally take my advice and seek out support, right. You know, a counselor, a psychologist. There's so much stress, I think, still pending from this pandemic. I don't know if I shared with you, but the depression rates pre-pandemic were at about 8%.
For dentistry? Or
just regular everyday life people in the United States anyways, 8%, 33%.
Wow.
Anxiety and depression now, post-pandemic. So that's hitting our field as well. I mean, that's 33% of, you know, Americans. And so there's no doubt that there's, you know, more stress in our field than a lot of other careers. I think, you know, it's a great resolution to start with 2023 of going, hey, you know what, I do feel like I could benefit from talking to somebody and just taking the step to do that.
Well, because I think our field draws people that tend to be perfectionists. And that imperfection, because we're in an imperfect field, job, I think if we can say it's okay to not be perfect, just to do my best. And I think I shared with you this before, and I apologize, but the year I graduated from dental school in 74, yes, there was a dental school in 74. Like a few months before we graduated, they brought us in together, had this lecture. That year, we had the highest suicide, depression, divorce, alcoholism, we had it all. And they're like, hey, congratulations, you know. And you're also in debt up to your eyeballs with student loans. So our field just has a tendency to draw people that are perfectionists. We can't be perfectionists, but we want to be.
Right.
And we were taught to try to be perfect in dental school. So it just lends itself to just being depressed and
anxious
we just need the best that we can be. Always striving to be better, of course, not being satisfied, but not so critical.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's okay to break a file. It was not on purpose. I promise. Oh, man.
Oh, it's so true. I think that's a really good. And again, I think with that tone, starting the year that way, it is going to lend itself to a better year, right? Because again, that just the way we kind of start the day, the way we start the year, if we can start it in that right tone, I think we've got, a great chance of it being a really great year. Much better than starting it depressed and helpless.
Like, oh, Lord, we don't have a chance this year.
Oh, well, Happy New Year's once
Happy
again.
New Year,
Thanks
babe.
for joining me, and listeners, Happy New Year's to you guys. We're thinking about you guys right now.
Thanks for coming home for Christmas.
Oh, for sure.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.